Now, you mentioned Metal Gear 2, though. That was a game, I think, there was a little controversy surrounding it with, the fact that everyone thought they were going to be playing Snake for the whole game.
Including me.
Surprise.
They didn't tell me.
You didn't know when you were recording the script?
No. In fact, we got through the tanker episode, which we did first, and then suddenly I wasn't the player anymore, and they brought in Quentin Flynn, who's a friend of mine who played Raiden, and suddenly he was the player, and I was like, well, what's the,
We just went through this big negotiation.
Right. We did this whole negotiation. I'm like, nobody wanted to bother to tell me that it's
That's why they had to do that switch, because they weren't sure you were coming back.
Yeah, well, I think they were mad at me because of the negotiation. I don't know. But that was startling for me. But at the same time, he still got to be cool. He still got to be the mentor, and it's still the same character. And I kind of, in the back of my mind, was thinking, I don't think the players are going to go for this, but we'll see how it goes. And then there was a big backlash, and suddenly in Metal Gear 3, I was back in the driver's seat.
Was that the most controversial moment, you think, in the history of Metal Gear, Guy? The switch to playing as Raiden?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's definitely controversial, but I mean, maybe even more controversial were some of the minor changes they had to make because the game sort of came out in 2001 after 9/11. There was a destroyed Manhattan, so they had to they had to evolve that. And terrorism is one of the themes that came up in the making of that game. But one of the advantages of doing Raiden, of having him as a character, and then the nature I was saying during the break that these games have the production values and scale of movies, but because it's over 10 or 20 hours, in some ways it's more like a TV series or an episodic comic book. They were able to bring Raiden back in Metal Gear 4, and like when people saw Raiden in the trailer, they went nuts. Because I mean, what he's doing, I mean, he was a bit of a drip in Metal Gear 2. But when you see him now, I think people are probably wishing that there was almost like Metal Gear Solid Gaiden, where they could play as him, because, I mean, you've seen it again, we were played through the whole game, I haven't, but I mean, he seemed pretty badass in the trailer.
Raiden's sort of redemption as a character with the fans, I think, will be complete with how it all tails out. And it was just fascinating how it shows the commitment of the fans to the characters there, that if you can generate that kind of backlash, even if it's backlash, it means people care, and they care an awful lot about everybody across that story. I think that's what they'll get the kick out of 4, is that all of those characters, everybody that you touched in some way, then comes back to be wrapped up, redeemed, finished off, however you want to see it.
What I also love about that is, Mr. Kojima obviously loved Raiden and put a lot into that character, and I think he was very hurt by the backlash, and I love how determined he's been to make Raiden a viable character. When I saw him in the trailer for Metal Gear 4, and the thing. And
did you get worried though, David?
No, not at all. I've gotten more than my share of video game time, and if it's to be Quentin from now on, well, Godspeed to him.
Is it bittersweet though to be doing Metal Gear 4 and the fact that this is could be your final role as Snake?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very attached to the role, obviously, and to the games. But it was really kind of tough recording it, because it's all about, Snake at the end of his life. When we did Metal Gear 3, it was Big Boss just becoming Big Boss. So I kind of tried to give him a little bit more naivete. He's a pure soldier and he's going in. Now this one, it's Solid Snake towards the end of his life, and he gets to look back and say, okay, well, what did it all mean? And in the end, does it mean that much? And so really the story and the journey of the character was more sort of melancholy for me than the idea of the job ending.
You still remember the last line you recorded?
No, it's all a blur. They brought me back for pickups, and I wish I did.
Do you get the final word in this game, though?
No.
You don't?
Nope.
Is that true, Rob? Doesn't get the final word? No. Wow. All right. We'll have to see what that means. What do you think that means?
Can't tell.
Maybe Mr. Kojima comes out and explains the
Makes
message.
it worthwhile. The wizard steps out from
what
behind
I've
the
meant
curtain.
all this time is this and this.
Well, we will see, because Metal Gear 4 is coming out, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Metal Gear 4 a little more and the future of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Is Kojima really leaving it all behind? Find out when we return in the bonus round. Next time in the bonus round, we wrap up our discussion about Metal Gear Solid. Is this really Kojima's final Metal Gear game?
Some fairly definitive things happen to Snake that are tough to come back from.
And will MGS4 ever appear on the Xbox 360?
They have to make more changes than just porting the code, let's put it that way.
Find out next time, right here in the bonus round.
Bonus round.